eventually people are going to say, what the hell is going on?
No matter how far you go into the dark, when you flip, you go exactly the same place to the light in our galaxy. Everything. Because everything is in balance. Everything is a polarity.
I think it's just going to get weirder and weirder and weirder, and finally it's going to be so weird that people are going to have to talk about how weird it is.
Happy Friday. If you have not liked this video already, it means you love Umbaba, who is the Lord of the Reptilians. So look, I'll leave that up to you. Either like the video or make out and marry a reptilian. The ball is in your court. We have part 2 of the Credo Mutwa David Icke interview today. And I mean, last night was wild. Now, if you guys haven't caught last night's episode yet, I mean, you don't need to see it to work out what's going on with this one. But I would highly recommend you go and check it out after this, because there was a lot in that interview. And I think what I'll do is I'll give you just a quick overview with the whole Chitauri thing, okay? And what we kind of learnt in last night's stream as well, which was like the Jack Parsons part. That's just so weird, okay? So in this interview, which was filmed in 1999, Credo Mutwa is talking about, you know, African history, mythology, and that this ancient reptilian race has enslaved humanity, and they are called the Chitauri, okay? Chitauri. And when I first watched this interview, I was like, oh, I've never heard that before. I'm going to start doing a bit of research into Chitauri. You Google Chitauri and you learn, if you don't already know, that they are an alien species from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And what are they in the Marvel Universe? They're shape-shifting reptilians that impersonate humans and enslave humanity, right? So is this truth in fiction? Is Marvel taking inspiration from random Zulu shamans being interviewed by David Icke? Or is this some kind of weird, put the truth in your face and make it look like it's fiction, so that way if you ever actually work it out, people think you just watched too many movies? But what's even weirder about all of that is that a lot of the whole, you know, UFO mythology stuff, sort of, obviously it starts around 1947, but, you know, the whole Jack Parsons, Aleister Crowley, ritual magic side of things has a big part to play in the lore, okay, in the lore of the story. What were they doing? Were they opening portals? Were they summoning things? Did they let things into our dimension that they can't push out? Who knows? But what's crazy that we worked out last night is that Jack Parsons' real name from birth is Marvel. Okay, so is the Marvel universe just like based on Jack Parsons and the portals that he opened and all the entities and beings that now inhabit our world? I don't fucking know, but it's very strange, okay? I don't know what the hell is going on, as you guys know, but we're going to try and figure it out today. So that's that. And we're going to get into part 2 today. Kellatrix, you little freak, welcome and thank you for becoming a member. Magic Maggie has gifted a membership. You are the absolute goat. Serpent is back. And Sneak, you little freak, welcome. Guys, I don't think we really need to say much else. I will mention, though, when you are looking into reptilians and the Chitauri and the fact that real life is basically just another Marvel edition, you should probably protect yourself on the internet while you're doing that with 23% off PROTON, VPNs, encrypted emails, cloud storage, all the good stuff. They don't pay me to say this. They only pay me if you sign up in that link. I get a kickback. So look after yourself and you can look after me at the same time. Let's say a quick hello to Suki. She's not too interested right now. Suki. Yep, there she is. Give me that side eye. Give me that side eye. That's okay. She's not a fan of the Chitauri. She's probably going to doze off to sleep. And while she does, she'll probably be chasing some Chitauri, as she likes to. So I would say that's probably it. Although we do only have a couple of days left of our birthday sale. So it's our birthday week and we have 20% off all merch in the merch store. Check it out down below. If you want the 20% off, you got to put in Lizard King at the checkout. And that's pretty much it. So here we go.
Redacted.
Just kidding. All right. This is actually the interview now. It's going to get straight into it, basically right where we left off. So it might feel a little bit jarring, if you don't know where we were yesterday, but we're just going to be getting straight back into the questions. Here we go.
Do you think, Credo, that those senses that you experience, that really heightened sense of everything, of oneness, of whatever, are the very senses that the Chittahuli have manipulated out of us?
I do, sir. I do very much.
Is sound okay?
They were senses like
Sound level
no
check.
human being possesses. May I add, no human being possesses anymore. It was as if at one time, sir, a voice was speaking in my head, a very amazing voice. And after that, my powers of prophecy
Boosted?
were intensified.
Okay, we're up a little bit now.
This is what I think. We human beings are holier and more wonderful than we think we are. And I feel we lost something at some time in the course of our development, or shall I say, in the course of our manipulation.
Credo, this is fascinating information, which I'm sure many people in the UFO research community will be very, very interested in. That is that these grey extraterrestrials, or grey figures, whatever they are, don't actually really look like that. They're almost in disguise.
Yes, sir, they are. And I will tell you what. Grey aliens have died in various parts of Africa. They have been killed, and they are very, very quick to recover the bodies of their friends.
It's up full. Without game.
Have fallen out of their crashed spacecraft.
I can gain it if you guys think we need it, if we need to.
Sometimes African sangomas.
Okay. It sounds like people want a bit of gain. Give me a sec. Maybe I think I might have actually gained the last one, and I forgot to do this one in, like, when I edit it beforehand. I think I gained it, and I didn't gain this one, so that's okay. That's okay. I'll just fix it now. Don't worry, guys. Guys, stop stressing. I can feel it. Just get yourself a glass of water. It's okay. It's gained. We're going to get through this.
Kill these bodies before they can be recovered. And believe me, sir, I have heard and I see that butchering
Is this
the
better?
corpse of one of these creatures is extremely hard work. What you think is the skin of the creature is actually a tight-fitting costume that
4
the
seconds
creature
in.
is wearing.
4 second hold.
Under this
4 seconds out.
this grey costume, the creature, say, is pinkish white, like a freshly skinned animal, and its eyes are round with split pupils. These are goggles which the creature is wearing. Now, how do I know that? In order to dismember a creature like this,
Golden Labubu.
incidentally we call them Mandindane,
The original
in
Labubu.
Zulu, which means the tormentors, the torturers. In order to dismember a creature like this, you need a brand new axe from the trading store, a heavy axe sharpened to a razor's edge in order to cut through the creature's skin. The creature's skin, sir, is not adhering to the flesh. You know, my skin is clinging to my flesh, yes? But the creature, there is a gap between the creature's flesh and its supposed skin. This is a material and not a skin. So the creature is actually wearing two garments. It's wearing a completely skin-tight garment which covers its entire body. And it is wearing an overall along these lines.
Wow. So the skin is a suit that covers the entire body, And we also hear that the eyes are like lenses for a covering as well. And the turtleneck is a suit on top of the suit. It's pretty interesting. I wonder, and you guys might have seen that some trailers and some little clips have started to drop from James Fox's new updated version of Moment of Contact with the interviews from the Doctor and things like that as well. It makes me wonder if that, because, you know, that alien looks a little bit different to the Grey, right? It's got like the little bumps on the head and it's, you know, a little bit smaller and kind of brown. What if that's what it looks like under all these layers?
Very often there are no clouds. And here,
yeah, the red eyes.
to cut up a Mandindani, you need very, very sharp iron. And you have got to be a strong person even to reach its flesh. But once you have cut through the cover, the close-fitting covering, you can just open the whole thing and see the dead creature's flesh underneath it. Is that the name? Yes, sir. It is. I will tell you how the creature looks like without its grey skin. It is like certain types of tropical fish. It's like the belly of that type of fish that is fried in South Africa to make fish and chips. That grey fish, that long grey fish. The texture of its real skin is like that. But the blood vessels are very close to the surface. In fact, not so long ago, Mr. Ike, right here in South Africa, several hundred school children, some black, some colored, were terrorized by a creature they called Pinky Pinky, a creature which looked as if it had been skinned alive. That was a Mandindan without its skin or costume.
It's interesting when you're talking about the black eyes of these greys being a cover for something, and then you have the stories of the men in black who seem to interact not very positively, to say the least, with people involved in UFO and UFO investigation stuff. And these men in black have these black goggle-like sunglasses, which are almost a mirror of the same.
Exactly, sir. But let me tell you that over the last 100 years or so, the men in black have become westernized, in Africa at least. In old Africa, if you killed a Mandindan, one of these,
The Mantindan, or whatever that word is their word for the Greys. Just like the Brazilians there's that video of the Brazilian tribe and they call them the Mankanawabu. Mankanawabu, yeah. It's just like the indigenous name for these creatures that other cultures call the ant people, right? All of these indigenous cultures have their own name for these things. And, you know, how much do they look like the paintings on Wangina Rock in northern Western Australia? I'm telling you, all these people, all these ancient cultures have been seeing these things for a long time.
you were visited by terrible beings who wore long black robes made of animal skin and deep hoods over their heads. And these creatures used to wear white masks with very, very terrible looking black eyes painted on them. They were called Izilo Zengubo, the beasts of the blanket. And may I tell you that these terrible beings, our African version of the men in black, used to play an important part in the choosing of certain kings in South Africa. That is one of the stories that I wish to tell you in greater detail one day. Whenever you have harmed a Mandinda, you received a visit from men in black, and one of my uncles was a night watchman just after the Second World War. And he saw what he thought was a burglar breaking into a factory which stored surplus army property. And he threw his knobkerrie at this figure and hit it very hard. The creature fell behind some boxes, and then and only then did my uncle, a tough old Zulu, realize that the thing he had brought down was not a human being at all, not a young thief, but a Mandinda. My uncle threw down his second stick and ran screaming out of the factory. And not long after that, because my uncle had taken from the creature what he thought was its bag, he took the bag with him to Alexander Township after he had run out of the factory, but he could not open the bag. And while he was sitting in the shack in Alexander Township, just near Johannesburg, there arrived at his shack 2 white men
Here we
who
go.
posed as detectives. And these so-called detectives told my uncle's common law wife that she must give to them the bag that my uncle had taken from the little man. And she did, and they vanished. What I'm trying to say, Mr. Ike, is the richer we become, the more we behave as the Chitauli are said to behave.
The richer we become, the more we behave like the Chitari are said to behave.
Some of
Money is the root of all evil.
us, when they acquire a lot of wealth, start consuming metals and other minerals that they really do not need, which, however, if you study the story of the Chitauri, you are told that the Chitauri use these minerals and metals as medicine. We are told, say, that the Chitauri, when they get sick, smear their bodies with gold dust, which gets absorbed into their skins and they become all right. May I point out, it was once the custom of the Munumutapa kings of Zimbabwe, the men who built the Zimbabwe ruins, that on certain rising of the day star, the priest king would be smeared from head to foot with gold dust, and sometimes he was ritually sacrificed on the top of the wall of the Zimbabwe fortress. And to my amazement, when I visited South America, I found that the ancient Mayans had exactly the same custom where a god king was smeared with a mixture of fat and gold dust.
No, Ian, this is not live. This is not live at all. This is pre-recorded.
And I know from my own research that the Maya people and the Central and South American people have massive accounts and legends of the same reptilian god.
Yes. The thing is, if you read the ancient stories of our people, or you listen to them spoken by the storytellers, you find that we human beings are somehow programmed to alter the world in which we live and render it uninhabitable to ourselves. We are told, say, by the griots of Nigeria, by the griots of the Dogon people, that at one time, a few thousand years ago almost, the entire Sahara Desert was not a desert at all. In fact, photographs have been taken of the certain parts of the Sahara from high up, which show ancient irrigation systems where there is now wind-blown desert. Questions.
I think I've seen that.
we
I've seen those photos.
being used as instruments for the destruction of our own species?
Are we being used as instruments for the destruction of our own species? What do we think, chat? What do we think about that? Corrupt NPC, sir, thank you very much for gifting a membership. Appreciate the generosity. I think Maggie said, is this another hour for this interview? From now, we have just under 1.5 hours from now. So we've got a lot to get through. These are 2 big episodes where we're crunching in over 3 hours of interview. And there is still, like, this is the main part. And there is another section where they're interviewing at a different location and on a different day. So, you know, if you guys really like this and you want to, we can definitely look at the rest of it another time. Probably not tomorrow, but we can do it another time for sure. Yeah. A lot of people, yeah, it does kind of feel that way. It does feel that on some level, people are like hijacked and oblivious. I mean, hijacked is like the best word that I have for it, but it's probably not the right word, but it's something like that. And it's like people are just hijacked and blind and walking off and like sleepwalking off a cliff. That's what it feels like.
I say yes. The wealthier a person is, the more like a chitauri he or she behaves. Some wealthy people even go to the extent of throwing away their old spouses and acquiring new ones, exactly as
Yeah, I'm looking at you, Leo.
King Samahongo of the Chitauri does. He kills and eats all his wives when they can no longer make love to him properly, and he acquires new ones. He killed and ate 36 of his wives over a long reign.
Seems like a reasonable decision.
And only one wife was cunning enough to keep out of his clutches. You see millionaires divorcing their wives and acquiring.
Morona says, I demand proper lovemaking. Me too. I think it's a reasonable response.
New wives. And the Chitauri, unlike traditional Africans, believe that a female is inferior to the male. And so do the wealthy people who acquire great wealth in this world. They tend to look down upon women and even to abuse them.
Few people in the chat saying it's super late where you are. Peachy, checking out, 3 a.m. See you later. And I actually noticed, guys, I've noticed a lot of people lately. I know there's been like a daylight savings and a bit of a time change. And I've seen a lot of people saying that they're like setting their alarms to make sure they catch the show at like 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 2 a.m. Look, if you are one of those people, shout out to you. Like, that means a lot to me. You are an absolute legend. If you're getting up and you're interrupting your sleep to be here, you're a real one. I appreciate you.
Well, let's connect this into the present day. And one thing that is a constant recurring theme is the reptilians or an extraterrestrial race interbreeding with humanity and creating particular bloodlines. And you've got an amazing artifact, I guess that's the word, necklace here, which I know is incredibly heavy, which has a very significant contribution to make to this.
He's got an assistant.
Theme of extraterrestrials or another race, not human, interbreeding with humanity.
Okay, please tell me that's not a real hand, because he did say in the last episode that he had to they dug up a corpse and they cut off the hand and cooked it and ate it. Please tell me that's not that one.
First of all, where did this come from?
So, we don't know. This necklace has been around for so long that we don't exactly know from which tribe it came. All I can tell you is that this necklace was in existence when the king who founded the Zulu nation, Zulu.
Next time my girl says she wants a charm bracelet, I'm going to hit her with one of these. Bleak has gifted 5 memberships. My man, Bleak. Thank you very much, brother. Always supporting the channel. I appreciate you.
Was still a boy. It is described in ancient legends centering around this king.
I think you pick them up at Pandora. Yep, I think Pandora do stock these.
It is called Inweba Yezimfihlo, the necklace of the mysteries. It is really a book which tells 12 different stories.
And how old do you think it is? How old do you know this book?
I don't know, sir. All I do know is that...
Hundreds of years?
Yes, very old. But it's not as old as the green face that I've just shown you. The Chitauli face.
Oh, it's not as old. He's saying this is old. He doesn't know how old it is, but it's not as old as that reptilian, like, facial rock structure thing that we looked at in the last show.
There is said to be over 7,000 years old, this thing here. Now, this necklace enshrines several mysteries in it. Inside here are stones which are not from this earth. It is a very amazing story. There are 3 pebbles in here which stories say were brought to this earth by an alien baby which played with a human baby in the northern Transvaal. This,
first of all, that looks so much, well, it obviously looks very much like a spacecraft.
Yes. This half-molten object here used to be a serpent-like necklace worn.
Damn, his necklace has necklaces on. There's charms for his charms. This is like Pimp My Ride, Reptilian Zulu edition. You got charms on your charms. 8U, $20. Says someone in chat said, check out the song Age of Illusion, official by Deant Wood in the chat yesterday. Wow, they nailed it. Hey, the symbolism and underlying meaning is crazy. I know Deant Wood, haven't listened to them in a long time. Oh, I just lost my chat. But I'll have to go and check that out. Because they are South African, I'm pretty sure in saying that. So what, is there a lot of this sort of like Zulu mythology, reptilian stuff in there? Is that what you're saying?
By a Mashona chief. He went to investigate something which had landed in the bush and which was killing his people. And he went with his battle axe to attack this object. And the object blew a jet of very terrible fire at the chief. And he became just smoke. And this was all that was left of him. Now, this necklace enshrines one of the oldest and the greatest mysteries in our country. That the god beings which we call by the name Chitauri and which are called Zishwezi or Imanugela in the languages of other tribes throughout Africa. These gods came down to the earth in great vessels made out of gold. And they united with female human beings.
Inspiration for the new merch line? Yeah, you might pay about 7 times the cost of the necklace in shipping, but we can do that.
To create a race of kings and queens on our earth.
It sounds just like the story of the Nephilim. Same kind of thing.
There isn't a tribe, Mr. Inter, anywhere in Africa. And when you return to South Africa, I will ask you to investigate this very closely. There isn't a tribe anywhere in Southern, Central, Western, and Eastern Africa which doesn't claim that kingship was a system that was brought down from the sky by gods who either traveled in swings, as the pygmies of Zaire say, or who came down in huge vessels which were shaped like bows, vessels made of gold, vessels bigger than mountains. I wish to share these things with you, sir, as briefly as I can. The Zulu people believed that they originated from space, and their name Zulu
Yes,
does
AJ.
not mean sky, but rather interplanetary space. And the word Zulu also has to do with traveling. For example, if I say to a child, you are getting about, you are moving from village to village lazily, I say, uyazula wena. Now the word Zula, which is used to refer to Zulus, sometimes contemptuously, in Zula, means really a traveler, a voyager, somebody moving from place to place. Where? In the Izu. Now I ask you, how did a land-bound people like the Zulus know that you could travel in space? We are Zula, Ezulwini. You can travel in the great place of traveling. For that matter, Zulu people knew that the earth was a sphere and that it was the sun that was still in space and the various planets orbited around it. I will show you on the other necklace of knowledge.
He's got another
And
one.
when a Zulu refers to the earth, he says umhlaba jikelele. Now, the word jikelele implies a spherical or a hemispherical object. But a Musutu or a Mutswana from Lesotho or from Botswana will refer to the world as Lefatshe, which means that which is down here. And he will say, when he refers to the earth's shape, Lefatshe ka Bophara. Now this word ka Bophara means the earth in its width. Thus, a Musutu or a Mutswana believes that the earth is flat, but the Zulus believe it is either a hemisphere or a sphere. The Zulu people were the first people to know something that is now attributed to Albert Einstein, namely that space and time are one and the same thing. Zulus knew that long before Einstein was born. They said that one other Zulu name for space is Umkhati. Umkhati. umkati, and they called time isikati. So you can see that Zulus, supposedly a nation of skin-wearing primitives, were aware of the fact that space and time are one and the same thing, and further, that if you could find the river of time, you could travel into the future and into the past, and many are the ancient legends which are told in Zululand of a man who traveled through time and accidentally killed a young boy who turned out to be himself in the past, and so he no longer existed.
There's an indication on the necklace, I know.
Damn, so they're basically giving like time travel theories that, again, sort of hold up today in the sense of like what he's saying are the same kind of theories that we're hearing about, manipulating gravity is you can't manipulate gravity without having some kind of distortion on time. That's kind of what he's saying, again, just through his own Zulu lens, but it's the same thing. Mr. Spoon with 20 pounds. He says, "Hi Josh, love the channel. Recommend Chuck Misler's stuff. He's the OG on Nephilim from a Christian point of view. He makes the vanilla Bible a lot more interesting with his courses too. I'd recommend them as a basis before Gnosticism." Thank you very much, brother. I will have to go and check them out. If you're in our Discord, feel free to leave a link for me. Chuck it in the media section. And 8U says, "I can't communicate it as well as the vid can. Big love." So okay. You're talking about the Diantwood video. Same to you. If you're in our Discord, drop the song in media so everyone can check it out and we can take a look at this symbolism. And Jane, thank you very much for the $2. I appreciate you.
Around the fact that the Earth is round, one of the symbols is indicating that, or a sphere.
Yes.
But I wonder what you think, Credo, of what is taught to children and students all over the world in the universities and the fancy academic centers, that actually we are now at the cutting edge of human evolution in terms of technological knowledge and knowledge of the world and the universe. And in fact, back in the ancient world, in Africa and North Africa and all over South America, they were just a primitive people.
For everyone who's asking about captions, they do not work on a live stream. You have to, if you just absolutely can't hear and you're struggling, one, I'd recommend put in headphones. You'll be able to hear it a little bit better. But if you're still struggling, just wait till the stream is finished, give it like an hour or two, and you'll be able to watch it with closed captions. But they don't work live, unfortunately.
Please, that is a lot of poppycock. In fact,
he's not
in
having
my
it.
long investigation into our past, I can tell you proudly that our ancestors were 20 times cleverer than we are. What I feel and what I think is that in the past, human beings were cleverer than we are today, and that human beings knew more than we know now. We are not progressing, Mr. We are simply rediscovering things that were known by better men and better women than we are thousands of years ago. I wish to offer you proof of this, some of it at least. Say, there are things that I have found in my travel through the world, things that prove to me that our ancestors were highly advanced in chemistry. Our ancestors had become so clever that they could take science and reduce it to such a simple level that they were able to help hundreds of starving human beings after some traumatic happening in the past.
Let's concentrate on some of the images on the necklace. and the symbols,
Here
because
we go.
that leaves no doubt that a lot of knowledge has been around for a very much longer time than we are ever told. First of all, on the hand, I'm seeing the eye. Now, the all-seeing eye and the symbol of the eye is one the Illuminati use all the time.
Here we go.
And it's one, of course, that was a very big symbol of ancient Egypt, the Eye of Ra and what have you. Why is that eye there on that hand?
That represents the terrible eye of the Chitauli, the eye which sees everything, the eye which knows everything.
So the all-seeing eye is the eye of the Chitauri, which sees everything and knows everything. And correct me if I'm wrong, but is the eye in like Mordor in Lord of the Rings, isn't that like a vertical slit eye, like a reptilian? Pretty sure it is. I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure it is.
It is said that when a Chitauli dies, he passes his...
I mean, of course it is, right? I mean, we have we not learned enough that we can kind of assume at this point that, like, of course it is?
Dead eye onto his next of kin. And to the Chitauli, an eye is a very, very powerful symbol.
The Eye of Sauron, yes.
This is the eye of the Chitauli. But there is more to this thing.
Comrade says, yeehaw, my ADHD meds are kicking in crazy right now. Look at us having a great time together. My man is vibing. Yes, let's go. Let's get some love in the chat for Comrade, my man.
Here there is a hole that goes right through the copper. Now, if you put water in that hole, you end up with a simple magnifying microscope.
When the Vyvanse hits.
You can see gems through that water. The magnification is amazing.
The great symbol that's pointed out again and again on the dollar bill, which is on the reverse of the Great Seal of the United States,
yeah, that's
put on
weird.
there by the Illuminati, a president called Franklin Delano
Kind of a weird thing to put on money.
Roosevelt, is the all-seeing eye. And so is it your understanding that the all-seeing eye, when it's used by the Illuminati, represents this third eye of the Chetauli?
Yes, I do. I really am sure of this. Why? Because in Africa, even ordinary human eyes are regarded as very powerful devices of magic. If an African shows you respect, he mustn't stare at you, but he must stare at a point beyond one of your shoulders. Now, we call this Hlonipa, which means deny me your eyes. We believe that when emotionally roused, an ordinary human being can inflict great damage on another human being by the unseen fires that emanate from one's eyes. We believe that a Zulu warrior must never allow his dying enemy to look at him. For example, when a Zulu was killing an enemy, he used to cover that enemy's face with his shield to prevent the enemy looking upon him with his eyes and putting a curse upon him.
It's interesting. People who experienced the Chetauli, the reptilians, in relationship to the British royal family and others at various rituals, have said that at the point of sacrifice, the point of death in the sacrifice, that these reptilians stare into the eyes of the person dying, which would kind of fit why those warriors were very concerned about that.
Yes, sir.
What are they doing then?
We have got a ritual, sir, which covers many fields. A ritual which is called ukuthatha umoya, taking away the soul, where when a king is dying and he is fighting to pass on his knowledge and his courage to his successor, he would demand that the successor should stare heavily into the dying king's eyes. And also, when a creature is being sacrificed in Africa, whether it's a human being or an animal, that creature must be stared at by the sacrificer so that its spiritual characteristics are drunk in by the one sacrificing it. I have seen many times on hunting expeditions in Kenya, Tanzania, and other parts of Africa, when a lion is just about to breathe its last, the hunter, one of the hunters, will stare into the lion's eyes until the lion's eyes start glazing in death. It is drinking in the soul. We believe that
like a
the
Dementor.
eyes are not just for seeing, that they are for taking as well.
Now,
It's pretty interesting, like what he's saying about the eyes, because yeah, some people have a massive problem with like looking you in the eye when they talk. I'm a big eye contact guy. Like when I talk to people, I stare them straight in the fucking eyes, and I like it when people look me back in the eyes too, because I feel like you're connecting far deeper when you're looking at each other in the eyes. And you know, I've always thought that like there's something about some people's eyes where you could like block out their, like this, basically a burqa, okay? You could look at someone in a burqa, and if you can see their eyes, you can still kind of tell if they like carry like emotional baggage, if they've been through shit, if they're sad, if they're happy, if they're excited. You can see that in people's eyes. You don't need to see if their cheeks are up or down or whatever. And I find that really, really interesting, especially when people talk about the eyes being like the window to the soul. And to hear this and what he's saying about the eye contact and like absorbing people's essence when they die, it's very interesting. There is, and you know, there are those photos that you can see online of people before and after they've been to war. And obviously they're like more wrinkly and more stressed, but their eyes look different, like the actual eyes. And I don't know, and you can't really put your finger on what it is. It's hard to like explain why they're different, but you can just see that they've changed. They've seen some shit, and you can tell. Ra Clark, $2, says, see also the Irish deity Baylor. One eye. Clover, one eye. Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
on the hand here is what looks like the symbol of the constellation of Orion. What's the significance of that?
Say, people throughout Africa believe that the original human beings either came from Orion or the gods for whom read the Chitauli and many other alien nasties actually come from that constellation. We call it the constellation of Umhambi, the one who travels very, very far away. And we call this constellation also the constellation of Matsieng, the giant who was sent by God to this earth to create the first human beings. Matsieng was accompanied by a male lion with a very black mane, and he was also accompanied by his dog. And he traveled throughout the world. He first created the first race of human beings, and they were so stupid in appearance that he buried them alive in a cave, and then he created the next race of human beings, which was clever. and we are the descendants of that place.
Also on the hand is what we would call today the Star of David, which of course is not actually a Jewish symbol. It started being used
Oh shit, David's about to get me kicked off YouTube and assassinated.
quite relatively recently in that sense.
Is that a pigeon or a robot spying on me?
But it's actually a symbol that's been found all over the ancient world. What's the significance of that being on the hand?
Say, there are several interpretations of this very powerful magical symbol. We say that there are actually two universes living side by side. A female universe, which is our universe, and a male universe. And
Pine Gap pigeons? Yeah, dude. They'll get you.
to Sanusis, these two triangles, a triangle facing downwards represents the descending female principle, and a triangle going upwards represents the rising male principle. It is a symbol of the unity of the feminine and the masculine. It is in fact the symbol, a very important symbol of duality.
Is this the kind of shape of spacecraft, etc., or flying craft that the beings from other planets were supposed to have flown in, or not?
No. This,
What did he call them? I believe it was, he said, we're in a female universe and the other is male. That's how I interpreted what he was saying.
you see, there are various shapes. There are spacecrafts which are shaped like boomerangs or bows. These are very, very, very big. Then there are spacecraft which are shaped like pipes, like huge pipes, roughly pointed at either end.
Welcome, Jen.
And out of those huge pipes
Take a seat.
come these little things here.
Quietly.
They are carried inside these huge pipes. Yes, sir.
Now, we could talk about this fella.
Yes.
First of all, the penis and all this stuff, that relates, I would have thought, to the penis of Osiris in Egyptian legend.
All right, so he actually does have the, wait, what was it called? What did they call it yesterday? The penis? They had there was a name for it.
The same recurring theme. Would that be along the right lines?
We say that King Samahongo, who is represented here, the Lord of all the Chitauri, call them what you will, had his penis cut off by Prince Mwari, an African hero.
Is
And
that it?
he replaced it with a golden one. Originally, we are told,
Is that the phallus? The phallus of Osiris? Dude's got a hog.
this thing was made of gold. And now each time when we recall the story of the great marriage between human women and Chitauri men, we unite these creatures symbolically. And sometimes when the necklace is lying on the ground, we make a bed out of animal skin for these two figures, and then we lay them side by side and cover them with a small skin.
So, why are
Prehistoric docking ritual? We're getting a birds and the bees from a Zulu shaman perspective based in the times of Osiris. That's what's happening here.
the depictions of the gods, if they were reptilian, why are they not constantly reptilian? Why are they symbolized in other forms?
Because it is very, very, very forbidden to portray a Chitauli as it really is. only in that large green head do we see a Chitauli represented more or less as it is.
But this was dictated by the Chitauli from
Yes.
the start, was it?
Yes.
All along.
It was, you are
That's
not
interesting.
allowed to represent the sons of the python as they really are.
You're not allowed to represent the Chitauri or the Sons of the Python or the Reptilians as they really are. You're not allowed to depict them. And he's saying that that ancient stone that we saw in episode 1 with the face on it, the one that I said kind of looks like the Kyle Odom drawing, he's saying that's like one of the only artifacts that actually represents them. That's interesting because I've always, and you know, look, who knows about these whistleblowers and shit that come out. Some of the stories are fantastical, but one thing that I always did find interesting was Jason Sand's quote on Joe Rogan when he's talking about listening to comms when he's in the military, and he said whenever reptilians would be mentioned, people would be like, shh, like you can't talk about that. Not exactly the same thing, but I have always found that weird, even just in like ufology and alien lore. Like I've talked about this a long time ago on the channel, that like everyone's kind of okay to talk about greys. We're all okay to talk about UFOs. We're even, apparently, according to Lieutenant Colonel John Blitch, we're okay to talk about 7-foot praying mantises that rip your face off, okay? That's all like well and good. But for some reason, when it, like lizard people, reptilians, shapeshifters, it's like, it's kind of in this like own lane. And it's like, oh no, that's silly, okay? 7-foot praying mantises that rip your face off, UFOs and greys abducting you and probing you. Oh, cool. Don't be silly and talk about lizard people, though. Like, I just find it interesting how, like, someone drew that line and decided, like, that crazy shit is acceptable, but this crazy shit, no, that's too far. To me, it's kind of like, why? It's all kind of crazy to me. So why are we, like, making a distinction here? And especially, why are we making a distinction here and marginalizing the one race that there actually seems to be evidence of in every single civilization's creation story in some flavor, right? Of serpent worship, dragons, scaled serpent beings, all around the world, in every culture, some version of it. But for some reason, they're the ones that is like, oh no, that's silly, that's crazy. Maybe that's because that's the real one, just like the Marvel universe. Just like the Marvel universe. It's just a funny joke. I swear we just made up the Marvel universe. It's definitely not based on real life.
You are really in trouble. If you want to talk about the Chitauli, you must either play with
Get this man to a hospital now!
Sorry, it was late.
shadows. You must place an image of a Chitauli against a light and project its shadow onto the wall.
So you've got a fish, I know, on the necklace as well, and fish are scaled. Is this anything to do with the symbolic representation of the Chitauli in a way that they couldn't do it openly?
Yes, there is a particular Chitauli who is called Wowane by our people. Wowane was one of the few good Chitauli, because there are also some good people amongst them.
Exactly, Susie.
And Wowane had a brother called Mpangu. According to one of the great stories, there erupted a terrible war on the red world where human beings had originally been created. And this war was between men and women. Yes, sir. And in this world, men and women nearly decimated each other. But they were rescued by the Earth Mother, who sent a great Nkanyamba, that is, a great dragon, to come out of the sky,
Classic.
to take them into its stomach, and to bring them down to, not to our Earth, to a beautiful watery world near the star of the red dog, Injebomvu, which the white people call Sirius.
What if Game of Thrones is also a documentary, right? And there are people in the world who come from a certain bloodline that connects them to this dragon reptile species. And their bloodline is like a ruling bloodline. Just like we have bloodlines on Earth that believe that they have a divine right to rule. What if there's something in that too? Bro, I'm going crazy.
The star of anger. There, the human beings were settled, but human beings started eating creatures which they found in the sea, which they thought were fishes, but which were really human beings. Human beings, we are told, started eating the chitawuli who lived in the sea, according to one story. And the chitawuli fought back against human beings. They attacked them with tornadoes. They attacked them with tidal waves, and the human race was nearly wiped out. And then two brothers, two Chitawuli youths, Mpangu and Wowani, took pity upon the human race. And they went into the sky and looked for a great egg. And they hollowed out this egg, emptied its contents out, and brought the egg to that world and loaded the surviving human beings and brought them to our world here.
Who said that? Heather says, and the White Walkers. Heather, you know, I was actually thinking yesterday when we were watching the episode and he was talking about Darth Maul, and he was saying how Darth Maul has the crown of horns, and that this is like akin to the warrior class of the Chitauri. They have horns in this circular motion, and that seems like what an actual crown is based off of. I was actually thinking, and I didn't say it, the actual Night King, the King of the White Walkers, from memory, has a very similar setup. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sure someone can Google image that one real quick. But the Night King has a crown of horns, I believe, as well. Very similar.
We say that Wowane gave us the power of kingship. He brought it out of the sky. And if you notice, in many parts of Africa, ancient kings used to wear a wooden helmet with golden horns, just for goring other Chitawuli as oxen gore each other. No, horns are a symbol of status, and through its horns, a Chitawuli is able to communicate with human beings far across the face of the earth.
So the horns were like antennae then?
Yes, they were instruments of projecting power. In fact, it is said by storytellers that King Samahongo punishes those Chitawuli who show mercy to human beings by pointing at them so that both their horns fall off their heads. And the Chitauri is therefore unable to direct human affairs through his or her horns.
It's also interesting.
Sorry, guys. I just heard this beeping and then this pigeon flew into the window. I think it was one of those Pine Gap pigeons spying on me, but we're good now. We're back. Captain Hotpants, celebrating 2 months as a member. Fantastic name as well, sir. Thank you. He says, second time catching you live, but I watch all the videos after. Thank you very much. He says, which best supports you? Gifted subs, coffee, merch. Good luck on your travels, Josh. Stay weird. Thank you very much, man. I mean, the best like revenue split is buy me a coffee. YouTube take 30% of everything, which is a pretty big one. But, you know, sometimes a gifted sub turns into a long-term sub. So you never know, man. Merch supports me too. Honestly, whatever Whatever works, bro. Whatever. I appreciate all of it. But thank you very much for the best wishes.
Interesting that the descriptions of the Chitahuli with the horns and sometimes the tail and stuff is very, very close to how Christians and those sort of stories have depicted the devil.
Yes, sir. And one thing that interests me is this, that depictions of the devil have subtly changed over the centuries. But there is a difference now. First, originally, the devil was depicted as a hook-nosed creature, like a caricature of a North African Moor.
The devil did used to be depicted as having a big hook nose. Yep. Grey Hair Discovery celebrating 2 months as a member, saying, I love being here. Grey, I love having you here, my friend. Thank you very much.
That was at the time when the Europeans were fighting the Moors as well as the Arabs during the Crusades. Many depictions of the devil then show the devil as having a hooked nose. And then, later, somewhere in the 19th century age,
we're not going anywhere, George.
The devil was depicted as an African with a snub nose, thick lips, and very dark skin. But what amazes me is that now, more than ever before, the devil is represented as a cheetah. What concerns me, sir, is this, that these alien creatures are now about to reveal themselves, and they are making us aware of how they look like. If you look, for example, at bioscope films which were made in the 1950s, the 30s, and so on, depictions of space aliens of that time are ridiculous, very laughable, but not anymore, sir. Today, we are having films that depict the grey aliens exactly as they really are, and the Chitauli exactly as they really are. My question is why? Are we being prepared for a major event? And let me share this with you. The group of American people who came to visit me a week or so ago and who left a rather unveiled threat about me shutting up or else my wife will die, who warned me about a certain creature called Eleazar or Melchizedek, that this creature is watching me. These people said this, that on Lake Titicaca there is a hidden beam of light.
On Lake Titicaca, is that what he said? I've heard so many people talk about Lake Titicaca, and I've literally been there. But that sounded like what he said. But that's in God, it's in Nicaragua. I'm pretty sure it's in Nicaragua or Guatemala. I can't remember, but I went there. But I didn't know any of this stuff back then.
Coming from the sky onto the surface of that South American lake, and that on the 9th of September 1999, something very interesting is going to happen at Titicaca. Now, I'm interested to know what this is.
Well, I know from my own travels to that area that there are endless sightings of craft and beings in that area. I've been there twice.
It borders Peru, Bolivia. Okay, maybe I'm thinking of a different lake then. I must be thinking of something different that I went to that sounds similar, because I've never been to Peru or Bolivia yet. It's bordered by Bolivia, maybe Peru, I believe. Pumapunku's nearby. Yeah, okay. Interesting. I'll have to add it to the list. We'll go there. We'll go there on my new channel, which I'll give a quick plug, by the way. It's linked below. Jostradamus TV. We're going to be doing some travel content starting in a few weeks. We've already got one video up there. Go and check it out.
Myself, and I do think, from my own research, Credo, that we are being prepared for these beings to openly be seen.
And being prepared this way, sir, when we do see the nasties, we are not going to react to them with the fear that we would otherwise have reacted. Because now what game is someone playing? I think, sir, that they are playing the game that whoever they are, that we should accept these beings and welcome them with open arms and make them our masters.
Yet again.
You see, sir, there has been a steady build-up in books, in children's comics, and in other things of the fact that we must accept these creatures. It started with the film E.T., where a cute little alien creature got lost on Earth and fought hard to be accepted by human beings. I think the same thing is on the cards here. The question is why?
One other thing I would just like to...
I wonder if Greer met this man. If Greer met this guy, he would interrupt him and tell him how Zulu mythology actually happened.
Before we move into the bloodlines and their connections to the Illuminati, is one thing that keeps coming up in my work is that some of these Chitahuli, these reptilians, at a high level of their hierarchy are actually white. Have you come across that?
Yes. They are not white like white people. If you take white cardboard and you soak it in dirty water, that is the color you will get. That is the color of the Chitahuli. And wait, sir, let us think carefully about this. According to African storytellers, the Chitahuli have got cold blood. They feel cold very quickly. And where they dwell, under the earth, where the great sun god banished them, they dwell there surrounded by great fires, because their blood is cold. They freeze eternally. And so...
Is this why we always see UFOs coming out of volcanoes? Because that's where the reptiles live, because it's warm?
If you come across them in their caves, there are many, many cooking fires lit there.
That's interesting, with the symbolism of the devil being in the fires of hell.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And there is another thing. The Chitahuli, their eyes, terrible as they are so efficient that if a Chitahuli appears suddenly into the hot African sunlight, two things happen to him. His skin dries and blisters, and he goes totally blind. In fact, sir, there have been a strange race of aliens which have been seen in Africa, even by white people, which I think are actually Chitahuli. When you run and the thing chases you, it stops immediately when a car's headlights hit it and it becomes blind. Another thing, sir, we are told amongst our people that a Sangoma must always have a bogo. This this is a sharpened wooden stick, which he or she must carry at night. We are told that a sharpened stick is the only weapon by which you can kill a cheetah.
Of course, again and again as you speak, what comes to mind is the story of Dracula. Count Dracula, the stake in the heart, the blood drinker, the blood...
Oh, you mean Prince Charles' great-grandfather?
Drinking, which is precisely what this Chittahooly and their crossbreeds seem to be into.
But it is not just any wood that you must use against a cheetah. We believe that Rhodesian teak, a wood which has got a strange bitter taste, is the one type of wood that is poisonous to the cheetah. And down there, you see a long stick that I am carving in preparation for the year 2000. I might not be alive to see the year 2012.
And he wasn't. He passed away in... oh, wait, no, he was. I think he did. He passed away in 2019, 2020, I think. Chuck, our resident Christian street corner crier, is here, typing in all caps, letting you know that you need to repent. Thank you very much, Chuck. J Style says Dracula now. Come on, guys, this is bunk. Dude, Dracula is based on a real person. So I don't know what you mean by that.
But this sticks, which I've been working upon for the last 5 years, is going to be the one stick which my successor will carry, and it will end in a sharp point. This wood, Rhodesian teak, is the wood that we say can actually kill a cheetah. And where the cheetah are found, you find Rhodesian teak or any other teak trees either being felled in large quantities or being pushed over by elephants. May I point out to you, sir, that many of the trees that are being destroyed in the Amazon jungle and in the Southeastern Asian jungles, as well as in the African jungles, are teak, the one wood that the cheetah would fear. And while on the subject of wood,
I think the whole idea of vampires just comes from people that got too close to these Illuminati fucks that are actually doing vampire type shit. Yeah, so it's based on real people. It's based on real shit. I definitely think that. I mean, think about it. Like, what do we hear? That these people are drinking blood. They're sacrificing, consuming blood. That's vampire shit. And it was in Nathan Reynolds. In fact, I should probably cover that. I've covered it a little bit, but we could go into it more. In one of Nathan Reynolds' appearances on the confessionals, he says that when you get deep down these roads of like occult, bloodline, ritual, all this kind of shit, that you either have to choose the vampire road or the werewolf road. And he actually elaborates on what that means a little bit. But yeah, that's the thing. And he says going the werewolf road, which where you don't have to like drink the blood and shit, is painful. That's just recalling from memory, but it's pretty interesting.
the only mask that can protect you against the cheetah is a mask made of teak. And in some of the flea markets around Johannesburg, I'm seeing more and more masks carved in Mozambique and in Zimbabwe, representing a cheetah. The eyes are huge, round, with slits through which a person can see.
So basically we can add Twilight to the list too. Twilight is also a document.
Existent, and so is the moon. I've seen hundreds of such masks being sold by curio sellers in the streets.
One of the other things that comes up in terms of the way they look is the domed head. Now, I was in Egypt recently and saw depictions of Nefertiti and the Akhenaten family, and they had big domed heads. Is this a connection?
Yes. Yes.
Interesting. I did not see this the other day. If you guys follow me on X, if you go on my X and scroll back to like 4 days ago, I literally posted a picture of Akhenaten next to the gray alien on the front of communion. And I said, anything in this? I had not seen this. And I've never watched this interview the whole way through like we are. I've seen lots of it, but I've never seen that bit. Very strange.
You see, we human beings tend to imitate those creatures that we call gods. It's going on even now. When African women saw white people, they named them Abelul, which literally means the gods. And today, in America and in Africa, black women and some black men are going out of their way to give themselves hair which is European and not African in character. Now this thing it dates back thousands of years. First of all, the one race of the Chitauri, the ones that are called Nomo or Nomo by the Dogoni people, are depicted as having beard-like growths of the same type that look like the beards of Egyptian pharaohs.
And it's like this thing to me, like this thing that they wear is very like cobra-like. Is that what it's actually meant to be? Because that makes sense. Like, I mean, or maybe it's just maybe it's a stylistic choice. Maybe it was the fashion back then. I don't know. But it's very Cobra-esque, which is obviously a snake, a serpent. And, well, wait. There's snakes on the head. It must be representative of the Cobra. Yes, and gold too. There you go. More serpents, more snakes, more reptiles in our history and creation stories.
They are shown having...
But they're the silly ones that we don't talk about, right? It's greys and praying mantises. Don't worry about the reptiles. That's just conspiracy theories.
It is said that when a Chitauri gets very old, after tens of thousands of years, he or she develops a bone-like growth under the chin, which twists around like the horn of that kind of fish-like creature I saw in Europe in a picture called a narwhal. And this thing curls up this way. Now, Egyptian pharaohs used to wear beards like that. And some African kings wore beards like that, real beards or even false beards made out of ivory or out of the tusk of a warthog. And there was a time definitely in history when African kings as well as Egyptian pharaohs went out of their way to imitate the appearance of the Chitauri.
There you go. They imitated the appearance of the Chitauri. Heidi, welcome. You are late for work. I'll be docking your pay. 44 Even Nomad says, Count Blackula, lol, suck it, Gary. Fair enough. And Ra Clark says, Militia Excelsa, African teak trees. Thank you very much.
Queens like Nefertiti had their faces misrepresented by the court painters. They looked exactly like the Chitauli as near as possible.
You're
the
forgiven.
High cheekbones, the drooping chin, the unusually large head. African sangomas, African inyangas, ancient Egyptian pharaohs, all of them used to wear headdresses that made their heads look much larger than they actually were. If you look, say, at the crown, certain crowns worn by Egyptian kings, the whole head, the crown, is intended to be an extension of the pharaoh's head.
It is always like so interesting looking at these things because, I mean, the thing that I did post on my X the other day, you know, I know that like it obviously isn't a 1-for-1 with a gray alien. I know that, but the features are just oddly similar. And like even if we're not comparing it to a gray alien, right? When you look at these statues of these Egyptian pharaohs, and I know it's made out of stone, but like they're quite detailed, right? And the features that they have are like not very like normal human looking. They like look a little bit like the eyes are a little bit like oval shaped and wide. The lips are very sort of big and they have these like wide mouths. And just like the overall shape of the face is odd. And in some of them, I believe actually like some of the statues of Akhenaten. Oh, here we go. I've got my thing here. Some of the statues of Akhenaten, when you see his whole body, he's like this like almost androgynous looking being with like a pregnant belly and like a female body. Look, this is the thing I posted on my Twitter the other day. Like, I know it's not 1-for-1, obviously, but like you can sort of see what I'm saying. And also, if you guys were here yesterday and you looked at our Schizo's mood board, look at this one. Look at the detail in the eyes with this and with the cover of Communion. Okay, if you don't know what this photo is, this is just a photo that appeared on the internet of an alien. Look, just in case anyone didn't see it yesterday, I'll quickly show it. Look, it's just an unconfirmed photo that got deleted off the internet. But it's interesting because of the eyes, right? You've got the black eyes, but with the flash, you can see that inside there are these circular eyes. And, you know, there's a lot of details in the collarbone. It's not symmetrical. There's a lot of interesting things about this picture. And, you know, when you look at those eyes, they kind of are doing the same thing in terms of the pupil and the actual eye shape. Hold up. Let me cook. Let me cook. I'm cooking. Oh, wait, what the fuck? That's actually kind of crazy. What the hell? What the hell? Bro, that's kind of fucking cooked. That looks way too accurate, to be honest. I'm kind of scared. I can hear that pigeon again. The Pine Gap pigeon is beeping. Press 1 if there's a red dot on my forehead. Kind of wild, right? But, I mean, look, just going back to the Egyptian people, like, you know what I mean? Yes, they're human in a sense of they have eyes, 2 eyes and a nose and a mouth, but they're not very human looking in like the shape and proportions of their features. They do kind of look like if you were to mix what we see on the right with a human, you would get something in the middle that would look like that. And yes, they wear those things on their head. I don't know. Is that to hide something? Is it to imitate something? I don't know. But that's crazy. That's fucking crazy. Can we please get this man to a hospital?
Get this man to a hospital now!
Yeah. And you can too. If you like the video, you will receive a 20% off voucher at your local mental health facility, which after this, I think we're all going to need.
To give the pharaoh an appearance of above average intelligence. In Africa, we had kings.
You guys want to see it on the other one? Okay. Check it out. It's not. Oh, okay, damn. That kind of does work too. What the fuck is going on? This isn't funny anymore. Nah, bro, that's kind of fucking cooked. This is creepy. This is actually kind of creepy. Wow. What the hell? Mom, I want to get off this ride. Yeah, this isn't funny and this isn't fun anymore, guys. This isn't fun. Damn, dude, that's kind of crazy. Well, I think I've solved it. I think I've solved it live on air. Josh Stradamus is breaking it down for you. Stevie says just joined to Josh breaking the Matrix live on air. Yep. Yep. I don't know what is going on, but it seems like we are actually figuring it out right here, right now. Thank you, Stevie.
Who favored headdresses made out of the scrotums of elephants or rhinoceroses or even buffaloes. A scrotum which was dried and made bulbous and worn on the head by the king to make his head look larger than it was. And lastly, in ancient Greece, at the time when Greece reached the great heights in its culture and civilization, the great ruler Pericles used to wear a special soldier's helmet with a bulbous skull, a helmet which made his head look much bigger than it really was.
Do they still do that today? Are there still African traditions that do that
Yes,
today?
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, very much so. And in America, some Native American shamans used to wear a special head made out of the head and the horns of a buffalo, which also made the man's head look bigger than it is. Say, popes, the Pope in Rome wears a hat which is intended to show him as having a brain bigger than average. That crown which has got three crowns, one on top of the other one. And now, bishops, especially in the Greek Orthodox Church, they wear crowns like that. And the Tsar of Russia, one of the Tsars, wore a bulbous crown which was in two sections, which made his head bigger than it really was. And in Persia, in Iran, some ayatollahs wear a turban whose effect is to make the man's head look bigger than it is. So does a Sikh. And so, for that matter, to the ancient priests of Israel, they also wore an iron-shaped headdress, whose impression was to give him an above-size head.
Aren't there also traditions in which they manipulate children's heads as they're growing so that they become more stone-like?
Yeah. During my travels in Africa, sir, I came across an amazing people whom you must visit. They are called the Mangbetu people, and they live near Lake Rudolph in Central Africa. They are a beautiful, aristocratic people. And what they don't know about the universe is just not worth knowing. The Mangbetu people believe that an elongated skull with a flattened forehead pleases the gods. They flatten the skulls of their children, causing constant headaches to the child even when the child has grown into adulthood. And I asked a beautiful Mangetu woman, Madam, why do you torture your children this way? The woman, the wife of a senior chief, said to me, look, the gods want us to be like this.
Christopher, live, love, live, see. Thank you very much for becoming a member, sir. Appreciate you.
Story that you're telling, Credo, from the African perspective, is it in effect the same story as told in the tens of thousands of clay tablets found in what we now call Iraq, become known as the Sumerian tablets, that talk about a race of gods called the Anunnaki, who came in and brought knowledge, ruled the people, and interbred them?
Yes.
Do you say, therefore, that the Anunnaki in those stories that have increasingly, of course, been translated in a number of books, they were reptilian, you say?
Say, all I do know is this, that here in South Africa, amongst the Xhosa people, amongst the Zulu people, there are beings who are very revered even now, and they are called Amanuna or Amanono. Amanono is Zulu, Amanuna is Xhosa. Now these beings are godlike beings, we are told. They can change their faces. They can change their appearance. Yes, sir. They are shape shifters. A manuna, now if a Xhosa man has married a very beautiful wife, a wife whose face seems to change every day, he teases that wife by calling her his Inuna, Linuna Lam. In other words, a shape shifter. It is said that the people who are closest to the hearts of the Manuna gods are...
Rambro has gifted a membership. Rambro, my man, thank you very much, dude. Appreciate your consistent generosity to the channel.
Women. And why? Because the women give to the Manuna the power of, they worship the Manuna, they hero worship them, which explains why Nefertiti wanted herself to look like one of them, and her children too. She was actually hero worshipping these creatures, and the how you say, women are copycats, and I'm not being sexist when I say this. Women will copycat any being that they think is supreme.
In Egypt also, you have the python-like headdresses, which are pretty obvious when you look at what the pharaohs were connected with.
Yes, sir. And the reptile has...
He said python-like headdresses. Is that like... Could you... Like, to me, a python and a cobra are two different breeds. Not a breed. Species of snake. Or could you say... Could you refer to a cobra as a python? Is it a cobra python? Or is... I don't know. I'm just trying to understand his take on it. You think he made a mistake? Cobra is much different. Yeah. I was just curious if maybe the term python can also be used for a cobra, but I don't think so. But maybe he did just make a mistake.
Played an unusually strange part in the culture of all African tribes. For example,
pythons are constrictors, cobras are venomous. Very different. There we go. There we go. We have a snake expert in the chat. Thank you very much.
It is my suspicion that we black people of Southern Africa are going to be deprived of our nationhood in the very near future, and that we are going to be ruled by people of Uganda. But wait, what is the real meaning of the word Baganda? Baganda. And what is the creature that you see depicted on the walls of houses and on the roofs of houses of some of the greatest empires in Africa? It is the python. There was a golden python which was used as a decoration on the roof of the house in which the king of Benin, the Oba, lived. Zulu people revere the mamba, a very terrible snake. Zulu people revere other snakes as well, and in Venda, in the northern Transvaal, the Venda people regard the snake as well as the crocodile as sacred. And they, even today, their girls dance at initiation, a long, rather sinuous dance representing the movements of a python. And they call that dance the Domba dance. And Domba is the ancient name for a female python.
Well, wherever you look, all over the world, whether it's the Maya of Central America, South America, Africa, anywhere, the symbolism of the snake, the crocodile, the representation of the reptilian is there. You go into Europe, and the Illuminati created cathedrals like Notre Dame in Paris. You've got the stately homes of the aristocracy, etc., with the gargoyles, the reptilian figures. It's been in our face, but we just somehow have had a blind spot to see it.
We human beings have idolized the reptile since the very supposed birth of our history.
On it tomorrow.
Go even further, much further. What was the creature which was honored by the ancient Greeks in their Delphic oracle? The python. What is the creature that stands next to the figures of the goddess Athena? The python. No matter where you look, go to China, where I once went. Who are the principal characters who brought wisdom to humankind?
Python. This is a
Creatures,
python.
Part snake and part human being. One of whom I remember correctly was called Nu, a word which occurs also in Africa. And her brother was Hua, and sometimes it's turned into one creature, Nukwa, she. Everywhere we human beings have sacrificed our dignity as a species and attributed great intellect and great glory to reptiles, tortoises, turtles, lizards, snakes. Why? And even now, sir, our fascination with the reptile and the amphibian has not stopped. In fact, it's growing. The popularity of all those dinosaurs in cartoon as well as in serious form, it makes me uneasy.
If we could just pick up this line of bloodlines, which the Sumerian tablets talk about, which you talk about, the interbreeding of humanity, and how the accounts explain that these crossbreeds were put into the positions of royal ruling power, almost as like demigods, middlemen between the gods, the Chitahuli, the reptiles, and the people. Those bloodlines, in my own research, became the European royal families and aristocracy, and today are the ruling, banking, business, and political and royal lines of the world.
Perfectly placed snakes, Josh. Thank you. Could you see my OCD tripping out? Just getting that shit perfect? Yeah, I can't help myself. I'm sorry.
And the genealogy supports this increasingly. Is there a tradition also that the royal lines of Africa go back to the same source?
Please, you don't have to believe me. Go to Rwanda and there talk to the people there. They will tell you that the founding ancestors of their dynasties, the first kings who came from the sky, and they were called Imanugela, the ascending ones. Say, many African tribes believe that when the gods came down from the sky, they found human beings very, very stupid. And the human beings could not come before the gods in order to be taught. So what the gods did, this is a story that you also find amongst the Dogoni people in West Africa, because the human beings were afraid of approaching these reptile gods. The reptile gods cold-bloodedly slaughtered one of their number and shed out its flesh with a specially gathered crowd of human beings. And these human beings then became the ancestors of our first great kings. Now say, African kings jealously guarded their blood.
If the royal lines of Africa claim descendants from the same source, basically, have those lines interbred as obsessively as the European aristocracy and royal family, and not bred outside of those lines?
Yes, sir. Royalty had to marry royalty. That was one of the strictest laws in ancient times.
This is obviously where we get the term the divine right of kings from. It's not actually God, it's actually the gods.
Yes, sir, yes.
And that's why they all interbreed with each other, right? Makes sense. Burley Bob with $5 says, "Good morning, Home Skillet. We must have a heart. Reptilians are people too. Amazon has those necklaces for $9.95. Yep, you probably paid triple that in shipping, I would imagine. And reptilians are people too. Are they? Or do they just shift into something that looks like people? I don't know, bro. I don't know."
Yes, royalty intermarried with royalty. You were not allowed to take a commoner as your senior wife if you were a king. You could take commoners after your senior wife.
After the genetics has been achieved.
Yes, sir. Now, another thing, it is like the Sangomas. Very, very strictly speaking, a Sangoma who was sometimes viewed as a king or a queen was not allowed to marry outside her caste or his caste. Sangoma had...
This is an Australian saltwater crocodile. Look at its eyes. That's real shit. I know alligators are pretty common in the United States. I think you guys get alligators way more common than we would get a crocodile. Like, you know, we wouldn't just get like a crocodile. Maybe in some parts of Australia you might, but mostly no. But like crocodiles are like way gnarlier and hectic alligators. And way bigger too. But they don't go up on their legs kind of like an alligator does. They're more on their bellies. And they more move kind of like a normal... Oh, no. Yeah, they're just more on... They're more on their bellies. And they will kill you.
To marry Sangoma, otherwise the non-Sangoma blood would pollute the god blood inside the Sangoma.
The lady that I quoted in my books, Kathy O'Brien, who wrote her own book, Transformation of America, about being a mind-controlled slave of the American elite, she talks in there about seeing George Bush as president and vice president shapeshift into a reptile. And so many other people have told me this story of world leaders today changing into reptiles in front of their eyes and then changing back again. And Miguel de la Madrid, the
George Bush shapeshifted into a reptile. You heard it here first.
president of Mexico at the time of George Bush, said to Kathy O'Brien, and she quotes in her book, that a reptilian extraterrestrial race interbred with the ancient Central American people because they needed to create bloodlines through which they could operate.
Yes.
And he said that these bloodlines were, in effect, today's world leaders. Does it fit with your knowledge, Credo, that the royal lines of the Chittahooly reptilian human interbreeding that become the demigods and the royal families, etc., that they have gone on in Africa, as well as the rest of the world, to become the ruling lines and the ruling people of these countries?
Yes, many of them have. In fact, some of Africa's most terrible warmongers, men who have drenched large areas of Africa in unnecessary blood and suffering, are directly descended from some of our greatest emperors of 600, 500, or even 1,000 years ago.
This is what a mental patient's Tumblr looks like.
Say,
Or
I would
Pinterest.
like
The schizophrenic Pinterest account.
to tell you about a man called Jonas Savimbi. Jonas Savimbi is a descendant of some of the greatest Angola kings. In fact, the entire land called Angola was a breeding place of kingship in Africa. The word Ngola means a king, and Angola means land of many kings.
I must say, the way that the evidence that I'm uncovering is going, and it's going there very fast.
Wow, that was big.
So much of what you're saying is that a race from the stars, a reptilian race, interbred with humanity. They created crossbreed bloodlines, which became the middlemen, the demigods, the royal kings and lines and ruling power in the ancient world. And through interbreeding has become the presidents, the ruling people at the top of the power structures of banking, of politics, of the military, of all areas of our lives, of business, all of it. Is that the way that you have seen it yourself?
Yes, sir. You know, Mr. Ike, I wish for one moment I could contradict you. But for the last 40 years, I have observed an extremely disconcerting phenomenon in South Africa and in other parts of Africa as well. And this is the phenomenon. You find a rising black leader, a real leader amongst men, a ferocious activist for the rights of his people. This man starts something, whether it's a revolution or whatever, he starts it. Descendant of very peasant people. And you are worried. And all of a sudden, this black man will come to a sudden violent end, and a person who is totally new will take his place.
Sorry, I just got pigeoned again.
And when you look at the ancestors of these people, this man, you find that he, or even she, is a person of very, very ancient African royalty. Now, let me show you. There was this war in Rhodesia, and many people got killed there. And there was a very fierce and dedicated general. His name was Tongogara. And Tongogara fought in Rhodesia. And just when victory was won, Tongogara was killed in a terrific explosion. Somebody put a bomb thing in his car and killed him very badly. But wait, Tongogara had been a descendant of a blacksmith. His surname, Tongo Gara, means powerful hammer. Now, who replaced Tongogara? A man called Robert Mugabe. Now, you can't get more royal than that. Mugabe is descended from ancient Mashona kings, and what is more, he knows it. Always a leader is removed, and when the power really comes, a new leader descended from some faraway monarch or tribal chieftain 2 centuries or 3 centuries ago comes on the scene.
So this is basically my mood board of reptilians. As you can see, everything we see here is some kind of reptile species. A few we're unsure of, but we are sure that they are reptiles.
Again and again, there seems to be this particular force which elevates its descendants over ordinary human beings. I can give you hundreds of cases of this. Now say,
this is the Weirdos 2026 calendar. Yep. It'll be in the merch store soon.
Talk about a tradition of shape shifting. African kings, even now, and even ordinary tribal chieftains, especially in times of crisis, often spread the story through the land that they are able to change shape at will. There was a time when the South African government created the various Bantu homelands. And these homelands were ruled by those tribal chiefs who were agreeable to the apartheid system. Now, some of these chiefs were very unpopular with the people on the ground. And so, to build a charisma around themselves, these chiefs used to tell people that they are capable of changing shape at will. It was spoken about a certain African chief in the Transkei who became one of the first rulers of one of several black homelands there, that one day his enemies were looking for him to assassinate him, and when they broke into his house, they found a huge lion sitting on the floor, and this lion growled at them. And because of that story, because even today word of mouth is a very powerful media of communication in black communities, all enemies of that particular chief left him well alone because they feared his shape-changing powers.
NK Yes Louisville. Louisville. Welcome, you little freak with a freaky little name. Thank you for becoming a member. Appreciate you.
Final question on this particular video, Credo, because we've got a lot more to say on others. Why is it that if the Chitahuli are all around us, which I certainly feel they are, and they're operating certain bloodlines, now some people see them shapeshift. That's absolutely without doubt. I mean, so many people I've met all over the world have seen it. Into reptiles and then back again, the George Bushes, the Henry Kissingers, these key people. Why don't most people see it?
First of all, I have said to you, Mr. Ike, that we human beings have got a blind spot in our brains. And this is what the Chitauri and other alien nasty boys are exploiting.
Alien nasty boys. Mark says this is the dude you get stuck in a random kitchen at 5 a.m. with. I felt that.
Look, sir, if we are a crowd and we are standing on a city street, we will see a man suddenly grow an extra arm. And many of us will see that, but will refuse to accept what we see. I have seen, sir.
This is a guy like when you go back to like, you know, you go back to have a kick on or like have an after party and someone's like, oi bro, can I bring my friend? I just met him. He's so cool, man. He's so cool. He's chill. Can we bring him? And you're like, yeah, okay, sweet. And then he rocks up and he just starts going.
People going through severe trauma in train accidents, in car accidents, but they refuse to accept what they went through. I have seen women who have been raped several times, ferociously refusing to admit what they underwent. I've seen it many times. And these alien creatures know our weakness. They know that very often we human beings tend to censor what we see.
Just to be clear, I would love to sit in a room and listen to Credo Mutwa just tell me the history of our world and probably not say a word. I would love that.
If you are an educated professor and you see a spook, your educated mind will refuse to accept what it is seen. You will reject it and throw it to the back burner of your brain, and it will stay there. Hundreds of us see very strange things every day, but we refuse to accept what we see.
Yes.
One of the things that a trainee Sangoma has got to learn, it is the ability to see. If I am standing here and looking at that bush over there, and I see something odd there, I must know what I've seen. But wait, sir, there is something else. Something very, 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 very important, which I and many other thinkers in Africa have found. Mr. Ike, whenever you talk about such things, people call you paranoid. But no, you are really more sane than they really are. Say,
Facts.
there are certain vaccination things that are done to our children which rob them of the ability of seeing spiritual entities. Believe me. I can prove this. In Zululand, we were sometimes called before our chiefs, our Inkos, and we were told that there is a great smallpox coming to the land, and that all the children must be vaccinated. Do you know that my mother's father, my grandfather, used to dodge that. He said that the white man's Mutwa, the white man's vaccination, makes you blind. And if you are to look after my cattle, you must not go to the trading store to get your vaccination. But wait.
The vaccinations make us blind.
The school inspectors used to come into the land and check each child for signs of vaccination or lack of it. Now, do you know what we used to do, Mr. David? Our grandmothers used to give us great pain in order to save our spiritual eyes. They used to heat grains of maize, and then they would heat this grain of maize, and using a piece of wood as tweezers, place it firmly against the skin of the child. So when the school inspector came, he saw these blisters and assumed that the child had been vaccinated, but in fact it had not. And this was done to us many, many times. And I noticed that school children in mission schools who had been vaccinated for smallpox or for measles could not see spiritual entities at all. A ndondo, that is a flying saucer, a spuputek, would fly through the sky at great speed and be seen by many men and women. But the child who had been vaccinated would see nothing.
Wow.
And I noticed this hundreds of times.
That's very interesting because, I mean, whether it's true or not, or how true it is, I don't know. But like, there does seem to be something to the fact that like some people see these things and some people don't. Why is that? What is that? What causes that? What's the difference?
What you just said about vaccines and their effect, shutting us down spiritually and multidimensionally, is fantastic, given that no matter what your background, creed, culture, parents on every inch of the planet almost are being pressurized to have their children vaccinated more and more and more. And to summarize what you've been saying, and indeed it's so much in line with what I've come to the conclusion about as well, an extraterrestrial race, reptilian race, disconnected us from our true magnificent senses in a long, long ancient world. They've been manipulating us ever since, and the more that time has passed, the less we've realized this is going on. And now we're at a point where we are in a prison without bars, a massive prison, and we don't even know we're in prison. We don't even know who the jailers are. Indeed, when the jailers are exposed, people just laugh and ridicule and all that stuff. So we're in an unbelievable situation. And we're in a jail we deny we're in. And there are jailers we deny exist. And we call it freedom.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. You know,
And the crazy part is we're in a jail with no bars, and people think we're free. And when you speak out about it, you spawn prison guards, i.e. NPCs that don't realize it and they defend it. They call you a conspiracy theorist, or when you criticize like the way a government is ran, they call you like, you know, are like a traitor to your country, or they criticize your lack of patriotism or something like that. We have prison guards, literally, that without knowing it, protect the prison because they're just bots, literal bots. Maggie, thank you for the $2. Appreciate you and your little vibe sticker.
One of the reasons why I've joined forces with you is because I have serious reason to believe, and I will repeat these words until somebody shuts my mouth in death. I have serious reason to believe that on this planet, things are coming to a head. and our invisible jailers are going to fight tooth and nail to prevent this. Say, our people say that the blackest night often heralds the brightest dawn.
The media attender says this African man is a liar. Have you gone through the whole 6-hour interview and cross-referenced all of his claims, have you? Do you know him?
The human being, captive as he is, slave as it is trying to fight back. And this is where the crunch is going to come. I believe that we are not far away from the bloodiest crunch in the world. And I will tell you, my visions tell me that we are going to be struck with the most terrible sword of all.
Yes, Pete. We have a prison guard literally just spawned in the chat, guys. Welcome, prison guard. I know you struggle to think for yourself, but just try your best. Take a deep breath, do some box breathing, get a glass of water, preferably not one full of fluoride. I think you've had enough of that. Just take your time, listen, and you never know. You might break out of the prison that you're in and that you defend.
The sword of money. Something is going to be done to money which will bring us all to the level of beggars. And do you know why, sir? Let me tell you. I used to work for big game hunters in Kenya. And one of them was an Italian gentleman. This Italian gentleman was such a powerful hunter, a white hunter. He used to shoot 2 bull elephants a day in Kenya, and he used to celebrate the shooting with a huge bottle. He called it a magnum of wine. I remember him pouring some of the wine onto the heads of the dead elephants. And then, one day we went with this man to the land now called Rwanda, which used to be called Rwanda-Urundi. We went up the mountain, and there, accompanied by pygmies, he shot a gorilla, a huge ngangi with silver fur all along its back. And the great beast died so bravely that this Italian hunter started weeping like a woman. He fired us, told us that the job is finished, and he never hunted again. Sir, what I'm trying to tell you is this, that something inside us human beings is beginning to fight back against the Chitauri. Something inside us human beings is beginning to say no. And the Chitauri are going to drag us all right into hell itself in order to restore their power over us.
Wow. Something in humans is changing, and that the Chitauri are going to drag humans into a living hell to avoid that happening. Well, I think we're here. I think we arrived in the last couple of years. Maybe the COVID vaccinations were a way to try and, really just like suppress whatever that change is that's happening. COVID was just like, bro, we need to stop that. We need to pump these fuckers with all this stuff and just fucking. But I still think we're changing. Age of Aquarius, it's all coming to a head. Someone said yesterday, or they commented on the video or something like that, and they said, I'm looking forward to seeing how Josh is going to put a positive spin on this one. Like, how are you going to put a positive spin on, like, reptilian overlords, enslaving humanity? I think Credo might be doing it for us.
Let me show you. Who would have thought in the 1950s, during the time of the Cold War, when everybody was expecting a bloody Third World War between Stalinist Russia and the Western nations, when British, American, and even Russian nuclear bombs were exploding all over the place, who would have thought that a few decades after that, there would come a time when a group of young men and women, the people of Greenpeace, would sail their ship, the Greenpeace Warrior, into a nuclear zone to prevent the French from testing one more atomic bomb. This tells us that something inside the human soul is fighting back. 40 years ago, it was once a very glamorous thing to kill animals. Today, a big game hunter like my Italian friend would never dare show himself in some hotels. He would be spat at and he would be beaten up by people because the hero of yesterday, the Bwana Banduki, the gun Bwana of 40 years ago, is today a murderer. Now, things are coming to a crunch. 40 years ago, nobody cared a damn about the environment. People did not even know that there existed such a thing as an environment or a food chain. Today, there are people who would rather lose their lives than not save a buck which is drowning in a river. A God is being born inside us, all of us. But herein lies the danger. We must be aware of the Chitauri. They are real entities. They leave scars on human bodies. They kill people. They are murdering South Africa even as we are talking now. Every word you and I are speaking now is spoken too late, Mr. David. AIDS is rampaging through our communities. And I have found a new disease in Botswana, which nobody is talking about even. It is 20 times more vicious than AIDS. It is called Ebola.
Ebola.
Oh my God. And we must please be aware. Let nobody laugh when we talk about conspiracy theories. But there is one thing, sir, that I beg that you and others like you should discard. Una momento, as they say in South America. Stop calling the conspiracy a theory, sir. Theories do not kill people, Mr. David. Theories do not murder innocent children. Theories do not put multiple murderers of Kabila's stripe into power in countries. Absolutely. Theories are just ideas floating in the air. The conspiracy is real. It is there and it kills.
Credo Mutwa and David Icke. That is it. That is the, well, like I said, there is another part to it where they're interviewing on another day in another place. Maybe another day. We won't be following it up the next few days, but we'll save that for another time, I think. That was a really good way to end, and I'm glad that there was a positive spin put on that, because I always do like to try and put something positive on it. And, you know, to hear what he's saying, this is back in 1999, that there is a God growing in all of us. And I think we all agree that there is a big shift and awakening that seems to be happening. People are starting to sort of come to their senses, in that it seems like the people who are meant to look out for us and take care of us not only do not have our best interests at heart, but seem like they actually don't want us to do well, don't want us to succeed. That's at least, just that's at least my take on just kind of looking at the way people are being treated. So it makes you wonder if the people in the highest places of control in our world have had their consciousness hijacked, possessed, overtaken, compromised, whatever word you want to use, however you want to frame it. It wouldn't surprise me. It certainly seems like there's something going on. I hope you guys enjoyed that. That sort of does put a bow on Reptile Week. We might do something on Sunday, but I feel like so much stuff has actually happened this week that we're really due for a bit of a weird week stream, to be honest. We've got lots of clips and things that we can get into and talk about there. So we'll see what happens there. Tomorrow morning, so if you're in America, that might be tonight for you. We may go live on maybe a members only stream, or maybe we'll just go live publicly. But it will if we do, it'll probably just be like a hangout stream, and we'll just hang out and chat. And maybe we'll build another schizophrenic mood board together live on the stream. That was fun. I was enjoying doing a bit of collaging while we listened to Credo talk about our reptilian overlords. And yes, and so, someone did say, where is it? Someone mentioned about, looking within meditation, all of this stuff is the way. And I absolutely agree. It is about, making that force stronger. And Rambro has been running group meditations with the Gateway Tapes in our Discord. They're free and open to everyone. So join our Discord in the link below. We sort of do them every couple of days, usually after a stream. Probably not happening tonight, but it will be soon. So get in there and become the best version of yourself. Be good, be kind, and I'll see you guys soon. Good night.
Eventually people are going to say, what the hell is going on?
No matter how far you go into the dark, when you flip, you go exactly the same place to the light in our galaxy. Everything. Because everything is in balance. Everything is a polarity.
I think it's just going to get weirder and weirder and weirder, and finally it's going to be so weird that people are going to have to talk about how weird it is.